We are live. Pay attention inside yourself while others connect. And let's give a chance to the translators to connect. We are gathered here today to celebrate. So, today's topic is the worst possible topic that we could talk about now: boredom. It's going to be fun. Get in touch with yourself. Swastika Visantara mildly. Give a chance to everyone to connect. And getting ready in our mind to do some introspection, lightly, not severely. There are monks who dedicate their lives to isolation. So a few weeks should be fine, right? Pay attention to yourself. Good. Let's start this. Our different senses are affected each at a different level from the emotional plane. I'll give you an example. You think about seeing someone with your sight, but you can't see that person, you might miss that person a bit. But think instead of hearing that person's voice, but you can't hear that person talk to you. Now that's a bit more intense. You might miss that person more. Think about the smell of someone that you miss, and you'll have a much bigger emotional response. The more local is your senses, the more it goes into the mind, the intellect, or the higher mind. The more non-local is a sense, the more it connects to your guts and your feelings. Okay, so when you see someone with your eyes, is extremely local sense. It gives you information about someone's position. If this person is right here or right there. If you hear someone with your eyes, with your ears, you'll have a sense of direction. The sound volume might give you a sense of distance, but it's not as local. But if someone farts close to you, there's no information where the person is, like who farted, what's that smell? There's no locality. Okay, so the less local is sense, and the more non-local, the more emotional it is. Okay. Missing someone specific is part of boredom. I've been alone for 3 weeks now, and I'm doing quite fine. But that's because sometimes I sit in my boredom and I let it talk to me. Not everyone has that courage. So I encourage you to do it partially. Meaning, if you have the crave to go eat something or entertain yourself because of a wave of boredom, I suggest you take 5 minutes, maybe 3, just to sit and observe it. What is that wave coming up? What is this information? And what can it tell about you? Boredom per se is missing something, or else it would be just sitting at peace. Okay? So let's say if you're like me, you go eat a little thing when you're bored. I'm like that. Uh, I used to go for alcohol, now I don't. That was a long time ago, but I did. I used to eat too much sugar. Now I go eat whatever. Okay? But I still have the urge. So recognize yourself, and instead of compensating either through eating or whatever you do to compensate for boredom, before you go, just tell yourself, I'm gonna take 30 seconds, 1 minute, and sit and watch it and observe it and feel what rises. And whatever part of the emotion that is trying to rise, whatever you will deal with through your observation, will diminish the amount of compensation you will require. So instead of becoming monastic and severe on yourself, I recommend you just get the habit of taking 1 minute. What is this boredom that rises in me? And if you're good with 1 minute, stretch to 5. If you're not, go and compensate. When you compensate and you've compensated after you've taken a minute to observe the emotional impulse, tell yourself this is not to compensate. This is to congratulate me for the minute of observation I've done. It's as simple as that. Then your ego will want to do 2 minutes or 3 minutes, then 5 and 10. The human ego is like a puppy dog. It's an animal. If you give yourself a cookie when you are bored, you're training your animal to get more bored so you can have more cookies. If instead you congratulate yourself for doing a minute of observation, emotional integration, personal growth, you're actually training yourself to do more personal growth and more observation. You just have to tell it to yourself, this is not because I'm bored. This is for observing my boredom and its emotional source for a minute, 2 minutes, a bit more. Sometimes you'll want to do half an hour of observation. Eventually, observing yourself inside, soft, long Visantara, it might be your way to deal with the boredom or to cut it off. But until then, still do what you like to do to compensate. I will go eat a chocolate cookie after this class, and I will tell myself that's to congratulate myself for giving a class. That's for congratulating myself on observing my boredom. It takes courage to speak of boredom in a period like this. because most people would not want to hear about that. You probably would prefer I give a class with super mantras to make you feel something so you can finally not be bored. I've done a lot of those classes already. Now we want to speak about the emotional rush that comes inside from the genetic response, from the emotions. When we occupy our mind, it usually prevents the past from rising. When our mind is not occupied, whatever potential emotional is not resolved, whatever potential emotion is not resolved, it will tend to rise. It wants to show up. Actually, it's the mechanics that forces us to evolve. If we don't do personal growth, eventually anxiety rises. The biggest cause for anxiety and stress is accumulating unresolved potentials inside. And then it rises. I'm a vulnerable person. I am known to be strong, but actually I'm a vulnerable person. Yet I am resilient to stress and anxiety because whenever something comes and I feel aggressed, I will take the time to observe it on the moment, later, much later, until it has come out. I'll do emotional integration, practice of swastika, mourning, visantara, things like that. I encourage you to consider that. Boredom is old stuff rising, and it is not pleasant. Of course, it's not. Boredom rises from abandonment, for example. And we want to entertain ourselves as much as we can because loneliness rises when we're not entertained. So if you have a bit of courage, sit in the loneliness and don't compensate. Allow that pain to rise. It will be profoundly aggressive. It's not just emotional. Your mental plane will also aggress you, and your animal plane, your genetics, will respond defensively for you to not feel what is rising. So you'll be aggressed on all planes. It will burn inside. That's your energy coming back up. That's your power coming back up, but it feels like falling backwards into hell or a pit of loneliness. It's unpleasant. So let's practice as I teach it. When I'm not entertaining myself, when I'm not compensating for the boredom, when I'm not, for me personally, is eating, for some is temptation for alcohol or intoxicants. The pain of boredom is more than boredom. Is all the past abandonment that rises slowly but surely. It's creepy. Stay connected to that feeling of loneliness and loss. Stay connected to that and allow it to rise. Try to distinguish, as a game, what is the emotion and what is the genetic response or the animal reaction. The animal reaction is more like the physical pull from inside. Go, go, compensate, shut that feeling down. This intensity here to react, just get out of that feeling. So observe it as the animal is making an effort to end your observation. Your animal reaction is strong, it's normal. It wants to save your life, it cares for you. It wants you to avoid suffering. The mantra, yeah, I'll give a mantra, is something I've taught before. Swastia. I will write it here. Translator, please write it on your translations. Swastia. To find ourselves, to be self contained, focus on what is the animal response that wants to end your personal growth, your contemplation of loneliness. Now I do swastika and the feeling goes away. I am so trained in just being with myself. We must not use swastika to deny the rest of the world, but to be with ourselves, happy, simple. So if your practice of swastika makes the boredom go away, stop it because you're trained a lot. Swastika is about to dare dig inside and find what refuses swastika, what refuses to be one with yourself. And the fear of being lonely, the fear of not seeing your loved ones, the mourning that we have to do to find peace again. Even if we don't find happiness, at least if we can find peace again. So when you integrate boredom, you can feel an emotional response somewhere. But mostly you have to embrace what the animal is pushing. Indeed, drama is a reaction to boredom. We might dramatize. Okay. Let's speak about this. Thank you, Susie, for the next segment. Let's take a moment for that. One way to compensate is to make something feel important. And usually dramatizing will do that. If you take a situation and you could stay peaceful and just learn about the information, someone did something, something happened. But you start to dramatize and emotionally engage yourself theatrically into how important and how dramatic that specific thing is. Drama is a response to feel more important and to feel the emptiness. It makes us feel something. It is very wise to be aware of the current situation in the world. It is prudent to be careful and to take seriously the current spreading of the virus. However, it is not wise to emotionally engage ourselves in a battle and be angry at those who don't follow the curfew, or be angry at those who did mistakes for the spreading of virus. In your house, drama will be different. It's with the loved ones and the family members, the roommates, and everything they do will start to aggress you, and you dramatize, and it augments. There's people in my situation, for example, who are completely alone for weeks on end. There are other people who are constantly with the ones they're supposed to love, and usually they do. That can cause some aggression. Observe in any case what is the push inside that makes you want to come out, either to compensate for boredom, dramatize, to feel important, the anger when it is easy. What is your thing? What are you using to compensate for boredom? We have this false understanding, false conception in the ego. If nothing is wrong, it will be so boring. So some of us look for something that is wrong. Do you do that sometimes? Think if you had no problems, life would be boring. Yeah, it's not true. Life would be peaceful. We each are different in the topic of boredom. But there is one thing that is similar. We are human. Many will say everyone's different. Everyone reacts differently. Yes, I agree to that. But everyone's stomach is on the left, everyone's liver is on the right. Everyone has two eyes if you're not mutated or damaged. You have a nose exactly the same place, the mouth is the same place, the hair in the same place, it grows pretty much in the same way. Our physiognomy is the same. Regardless how you think you are different as a human, your bones are made of the same matter than the bones of any other. So the mechanics of the ego is the same. It's identical. We're made the same inside. Okay? So whatever is your external manifestation regarding boredom, the inside manifestation is a tension, a will that pushes into your reaction. Find it, feel it, observe it as it rises. Are you dramatic? Are you negative, suicidal, alcoholic, or sweetaholic? That was me. Now that's just feed me aholic, foodaholic, like eating food just while I taste something in my mouth. I'm not bored because I'm looking for stimulation. Well, the mechanics is the same. Eating, drinking, smoking more, dramatizing, all of this comes from a desire to produce a sensation to fill the emptiness. So observe the emptiness at the emotional level and the push, the reactive push at the animal level. So you have two things. You actually have three things to look at. We'll talk about this First, the emotion, the blank, the emptiness, and the animal reaction, the guts, the will. See how it pushes you. The third part is the cognitive functions, the mind in the intellectual fashion. The mind, the Kabbalists will call that part Netza. It is creative, so it keeps thinking about things. If you're occupying yourself in the day, you might dream of similar dreams in the night because it's just filling your mind so much. Maybe your dreams are more vivid if you are in quarantine because you're not spending all the energy that you accumulate. During daytime, the mechanics of dreaming are still there. It thinks, it, it wants to react, it wants also to occupy itself. That part, just be aware of it, just so it doesn't go crazy. It is only motivated by the animal push, the reaction, and the emotional emptiness. Swastika. What am I losing? What is that emptiness? What must I embrace to feel peace again? Whenever a moment of boredom happens, or a desire for drama happens, or a push for ingesting anything, take a moment to observe the animal reacting. And if you can't do 15 minutes, start with 30 seconds, 1 minute, and then go and compensate. You would have done it anyway, but now do it to say congratulations. You have 1 minute less of boredom inside, of reaction. And you train yourself in doing more until you become a master at it. Some monks have dedicated their lives at fixing a point on the floor or a wall. And they work a little in the day, they go eat, and then they just do nothing entertaining. That's the Theravada Buddhist would do that. They're severe. The ascetic Hindu, like the sadhu. I've done a few of those practices. Not interesting. Not doing that again. Nope. Thank you for your time. We continue class with something else. Animal reactions are deep. They're motivated by our emotions. And while you have empty time in your life, that stuff rises. It's normal. That's how human is. Give it time. Give it a chance for the animal to really express itself, its own sadness, its reaction. Develop the courage to face that. This is how you keep your mental sanity. If you allow the boredom to rise and react more and more, you will overcompensate and you'll develop health condition regarding that. Be careful with this. Good. Let's do a vocal breath. Let go of that tension. And another one. Good. Very good. Good. Now, after that long class, I can feel your energy is done good. Let's transmigrate together. Let's be more together, all right? Let's be together, whoever's paying attention to this class. Nefesh galgalim v'shemesh lemalkut. Let's speak of a very basic and simple mantra. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Mantras are the most efficient when they are felt as an experience. The word mani means jewel. The feeling of a jewel, the emotion of jewel is something precious and beautiful. Padme is a lotus, a flower on the surface of water that is open to the heavens, to the sky, but it is rooted through the water and into the mud. So it is a symbol of our consciousness open but well grounded. Okay? That's the feeling of the lotus. It's not just universal consciousness, it's grounded through a layer of emotion, through all the human water. Hum is the bija for feel that. Om Mani Padme Hum. It's so wonderful to be conscious, well grounded. Om Mani Padme Hum. It is beautiful to be conscious. Om is universal consciousness. Let's not give a class now on that. Om Mani Padme Hum. It's beautiful to be conscious. Of course, what we'll be conscious of, sometimes it's great, blissful. Sometimes it's painful and distressing. But we find beauty and greatness in being conscious, well grounded in reality. The Buddha used to speak in his early years of teaching. He used to speak eloquently, but in a manner complex to understand. And the teachings that he gave later in his life are easier to understand, less cryptic. The Buddha Sakyamuni realized many of his disciples were contemplating that everything was an illusion, although he never said that. The Buddha expressed at one point, what you conceive in your mind is illusion. How you interpret what you perceive is an illusion. The interpretation is in the mind. He didn't say that what you see is not real. That's not what he said. At another time, someone asked him, what is a soul? Do we have a soul? What's it made of? And the Buddha replied, if I tell you about the soul, every conception you'll build about it will be erroneous because it will be illusions in your mind. If I tell you that we have no soul, that too will be an illusion in your mind. So I'll simply not speak about it now. For those who can't understand the complexity of that logic, they deducted, so we have no soul. It's all illusion. And that is not what he said. What he meant is, if the Buddha explains with words what is a soul, before you have felt it, your intellectual fantasies about it will be false, because only living it will make sense. But he did not express that clearly. At another time, the Buddha expressed nothing is permanent. Everything is impermanent. Everything changes. And then you have the now people, those who just live in the now and nothing lasts, who started to be irresponsible, not to take care of the near future or the medium and far future, not taking care of being prudent, just living in the now, and everything ends. And they use that wisdom to become careless. So later, the Buddha scolded those who did not understand his teaching. So he explained, instead of contemplating that everything is an illusion, now I want you to contemplate being here in reality. To those who contemplated everything was empty and illusion, I want you to contemplate bliss. Those who contemplated that we have no soul, I want you to contemplate bliss. To those who contemplate intemporality, I want you now to contemplate the concept of eternity. He did not say that his previous teachings were wrong, because they were not. They simply, again, were interpreted in people's mind falsely. So he gave solutions. Instead of thinking about the non-existence of the soul, the illusion, and the intemporality, think about the self in bliss, the eternity, grounded and living in this world. That is explained in the Mahaparinirvana Sutra. And he will give another teaching, of course, after that. The Buddha taught about the medicinal herbs to heal and the mother's milk. Okay, so a baby had difficulty digesting the milk of the mother. That's in all times when they use Ayurveda or medicine of the Hindu, very pagan, thousands of years ago. So the mother's milk was wrong and the digestive system of the baby had a problem. The doctor would give a medicine to the mother and the baby. But while the medicine happened, the baby must not drink the milk of the mother. So the doctor put a little grease that tastes very bad on the nipple of the mom, of the breast. So that the baby, when he gets to try to suckle on the breast, smells bad. He's repulsed. That's just for the time the medicine will work in the body of the baby and the body of the mother. And after a day or two, the medicine has done its job. They remove the poison, not the poison. They remove the smelly grease from the nipples, and now it's time for the baby to drink again. But the baby is afraid to suck on the nipple because for a while it tastes bad. So he has to be shown again. This is how it works, and eventually he gets on it. So the Buddha says, in the same way, to all who are not ready to understand the nature of the soul, to those who would not even be able to understand the wisdom, he gave a medicine. For now, don't even talk about the topic of the soul. And he gave other teachings in the art of experiencing, in the art of being conscious. And once those who could be conscious of spiritual experience, then he said, let's go and talk about the gods, the soul, eternity, bliss, and stuff like that. It's part of the esoteric traditions to teach step by step. Another of those teachings that I love in the Lotus Sutra is called the Phantom City. There's a touristic guide who knows the most fabulous place on earth. But it's in a few days walking distance through a very hard terrain to cross. And no one would ever engage themselves in that hard mountain to climb, because who would risk it? So the touristic guide, he goes to the population in the field, in the valley, and he says, I know a great place to go sit and see nature and flowers at only 1 hour walking distance on a soft path. Who wants to come? Ah, many of them want to come. So he leads them to that easy place to go. And it's beautiful, and there's flowers, and it's nice. It was also nice in the valley, but now it's nice. Now the guide says, well, I know another place, but it's a few hours walking and there's a little hill, but it's worth it, I promise. So most of them go because the travel agent, the touristic guide, he gained credibility with the first little valley, the first little garden. So he leads them to another place. There's a little waterfall. It's even better. And after a few hours there, he says, hey, he should rest here tonight. But tomorrow I know another place. It's a full day's walk, and the path is harder. And he guides them step by step through harder and harder terrain until one day he can get them to the most fabulous palace filled with the most beautiful garden with the most beautiful jewels everywhere. That metaphor of the phantom city is for spiritual guides to bring wisdom to the student that they will easily digest, that will bring them benefits quickly with little effort. And with time, we bring them to more intense practice that brings even more benefit, but are harder to contemplate. Same as the metaphor of the mother's milk and the medicinal herb. Same as the phantom city. Observe your boredom 1 minute before reacting, before congratulating yourself. And then maybe 2 minutes, then 5, 10. Maybe take your mala and charge a mantra today. And you just move on step by step like that. I hope that was inspiring to the teachers. Teachers are so much in a hurry that want to teach everything precious to their students. But the most useful practice is the practice that the student is ready to do, but also ready to make an effort for. We would know students who are capable of doing the hard practice, but they don't care. They're not motivated. So you have to provide the easy methods and then the harder ones. Then encourage them on the path, step by step. Going back to Om Mani Padme Hum. First, you learn it's the mantra of compassion, loving kindness. But that mantra has nothing to do with love or kindness. It says, it is so wonderful to be conscious and to feel it. It grounds yourself in your experience, makes you alive. Om Mani Padme Hum. So now you practice this mantra, you sing it, you chant it, entertain yourself with it, and be grounded and be conscious. One day I'll re-explain it in a different way, which will be harder to understand. But that would be entertaining, and that's it. I was giving a class about boredom. So let's leave it at that. Do the practice so you can connect and sign intensely. Okay. The classes from now on will have a more fixed schedule until further notice. It will be on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays at that time, 11 p.m., 11 a.m. my time. So that in the Mondays and Tuesdays, I can give classes that both work together, one supporting the other, more intense, with the practice. And on Friday, contemplation to support. And I'll organize the wisdom so that you can go for a full week on it if you care, if you have determination. Okay. And we will organize next week a game of extrasensory perception that you can go on any communication device, YouTube, Facebook, Zoom, video chat, Skype, whatever you use. And you'll play at transmigrating. Can't, come on. also be a class of boredom. We'll learn ESP, right? We'll learn ESP. Yeah, we'll try that. We'll learn to transmigrate. Extrasensory perception. You'll see how the mind distorts everything and it's okay. Be in touch with inside. Cross that limit of boredom so that we can play more with fun stuff next week. Okay. And we will have a bit more classes on the applications of magic, the beginning of the supernatural for fun because we can. Okay. Peace. Pagmanitab mo yun. Fazer gagaling. Meme.